Okay, so here we are at the NetSapiens UGM 2022 in Miami, Florida, and have with me Dave and Stephanie from GreenStar Marketing. Hey Dave, hey Stephanie.
Hello Mark. How are you?
It's an honor and a privilege to have you both here to talk to us today, and so we'll get straight into it. So Dave, last time we met in person, you were with NetSapiens, and since then there have been some changes. Would you like to tell us what's been happening?
Yes, after almost 6 years of being at NetSapiens, I had an opportunity to basically gracefully and graciously move back to a company that I had started over a decade ago, which is GreenStar Marketing. And so I made that move, and so here I am today as the CEO of GreenStar.
Right.
And I'm here with Stephanie, who's our Senior Director of Marketing. Right. And you're right, though. I was the Senior Vice President and General Manager of NetSapiens for those 6 years. It was a great experience. Obviously got to meet a lot of MSPs, ITSPs, and really get to understand, the things that they're going through, the evolution of the UCaaS and CCaaS market for them, and really get to understand the value proposition that NetSapiens offers the MSP, for example.
Right, that's excellent, and I look forward to delving into some of this expertise too. And so Stephanie, I understand you've been a marketer and specializing in the telecom industry for 10 years or so?
Almost. I get to say that in January. So yes, I actually used to work with Dave 10 years ago at an ITSP, and I used to do line number porting. So
oh, wow.
Yep, been in it for a while. I was finishing up school, and it just made sense to stay in the industry because I already knew it. So. Yep.
Well, that's great, and it's actually quite a rare thing to find someone who's a marketing specialist, but also really has had hands-on experience in the telecom industry.
Yeah, it is. Trust me, I'm hiring. It's hard.
Well, that's great, excellent. So Dave, come back.
Yes.
With regard to our target audience, or MSPs, and so many of them are sort of getting into the white label selling of telecom services. What do you think are the big opportunities here? I mean, especially we're here at the NetSapiens UGM. How do you see the world of telecom from an MSP perspective right now?
Yeah, so the MSPs right now are obviously, they're trying to build their brand, but a lot of what they're selling is actually disintermediating from the space. And what I mean by that is their brand is no longer being sold, right? They're selling other larger brand companies, but their brand is being, pushed aside, if you will. With NetSapiens, because it allows full branding of the product at the white label level, it allows them to reintegrate or reintermediate their brand back into the supply chain, allows them to go to market selling their brand. That's the first thing, right? Yeah. So now it's better for their valuation. It's just better for ownership, if you will. Oh, yeah. And it allows to really tighten up their marketing, right? So they're allowed to basically build that brand, which also has the product attached to it. So there's a bunch of wins there when they do that. The other reason I think the NetSapiens is so unique is that they have this concept of sessions, not seats. So most other competitors sell on a seat-based model, but the reality is it's very rare that all phones are being used at the same time, right? So this concurrency concept of sessions, not seats, allows you to sell based on usage, not just potential phones sitting on a desk that aren't being activated, used, or seeing traffic, if you will, right? So that offers then the ability then to have different pricing models. It allows you to have more margin. Right. Because you're basing things on maybe a seat model, but being charged on a concurrency model. Yes. So those are the types of value propositions that I think that NetSapiens product offers. I'll give you one more. Multi-tenancy with geo-redundancy is native in the NetSapiens product. So not only can they do white label, if you will, for the NetSapiens, but they can then bring their own resellers to the table and let them brand their own product in those smaller markets that they're dealing in, for example. So it really allows them to do a lot of different things, flexible concepts, if you will. They're not stuck with one structure, one price model to go to market and so forth. So I really think that NetSapiens provides that flexibility that's probably lacking sometimes in what they're offering, right? It's not a cookie cutter, one size fits all.
Right, yeah. Excellent. So in terms of having a brand and developing it, Stephanie, where do you lead your MSP clients? I mean, what sort of approaches are you looking at these days?
Yeah, absolutely. So it really comes down to the heart of them. So they all sell the same products essentially. There might be small differentiations here. Someone does SMS, someone doesn't, whatever. But it's all the same. So it comes down to what really gets them ticking. What are they passionate about? And that's what we have to go after. Honestly, we could talk right now going down the vertical, getting niche down. I mean, we do the same thing. We only work in telecom. And it works. It does. Once you become an expert in that field, you can really get that consultative approach with your customers and really guide them to what works for them. And then you become an advocate for them. And, it becomes a lifelong, hopefully, relationship once you are really involved in their success.
Right. And so nowadays with the, I guess the way everyone's working through the cloud, remote working, etc., when it comes to marketing, do you advise MSPs to go wide, to cover a wider region, or do you encourage them to stay in their own geography?
Absolutely depends.
Okay,
it totally depends. So I'd say it's about half and half right now that our clients do. Half of them stay local, half of them do go regional or national. But again, it depends on how their sales process is and how their installation process is. So if they are comfortable drop shipping pre-provisioned phones, that's great. Let's go national. If they want that more white glove, hands-on approach, you got to stay local. You got to stay within your radius. So it absolutely depends. But at the end of it, it's all about the customer service that they can provide, because we all know the big dogs have the same tech, have the lowest prices, but the customer service is terrible. So that's how they really got to set themselves apart.
Right, I see. And Dave, at the NetSapiens world, we've seen some of the really great telecom providers who've grown on that platform.
Yes.
And some of them we talk to sort of seem to prefer this direct sell model, and some go into to resell, white label, that sort of thing. What's your advice? I mean, in terms of whether to make that jump into the white label?
Well, that's a loaded question, right? Because there's a lot to that, right? That's an onion. You've got to peel back the layers.
Sure,
However, I would say this: you really do want to find your lane. So that could be retail, it could be white label, it could be both. Right. But understand that when you're doing both, that's two different experiences, that's two different processes, that's two different expectations that are going to be on your team. So you better have the stamina to be able to deliver on both of those. Just like attacking a vertical, right? I mentioned, she mentioned specialization, finding that niche, if you will. Don't pick so many, right? If you're going to specialize, then pick one or two and be really good at it, right? And that means understanding not just the UCAS part of it, but also understanding workflow management, understanding the CRM or ERP, understanding the pain points that you're solving, right? I mean, I know it sounds trite when people say, sell the solution, don't sell on price. Certainly, but there is some truth to this, right? If you understand the pain of your end user, you will be able to start filling that niche, and then that becomes repeatable, and that is when your process can start to get refined, and you start seeing happier customers, higher CSAT scores, and then of course your margins go up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the repeatability means your learning curve is not as severe.
Correct. I mean, in the beginning, if you're trying to learn a new CRM that you're not familiar with, you're going to have some pain. I mean, if you look at, for example, auto dealerships, right? There are several larger brands out there of CRMs in that industry. You really do need to know all of them, though, right? Because there's enough take rate for each one. It's not like one has 90% market share and the rest all share 1%. There's enough market share that you probably need to know at least 3 or 4 of them to be able to go into a dealership and have them feel confident that you are the expert. You can help them, and you understand that a business development center is a key component to their telephony, right, into their UCAS world. That you understand that being able to text information about the VIN number of that particular car that's on the lot is important to them. If you don't understand their pain points or what they're trying to accomplish, you're not going to have the same level of acquisition of customers, if you will. So those are the kind of things that you really need to sit down and strategize with your team. Create that specialization, create that alignment, Get your team all rowing in the boat, going in the same direction, understanding what you're talking about. Have buy-in from all the key players in the organization. Have them disseminate that to the rest of the team to get complete buy-in. And then what happens is you're going to own that space. And that can be regional or even local initially, and you'll be that person. But eventually you can take that national depending on what you're doing, if you want to.
Yes. So
and we've seen that at NetSapiens.
Yeah, absolutely. It's impressive. And so when you think of some of the most successful partners that NetSapiens have, what would you say are the key differentiators of those partners? Does it come to specialization? Is that one of them? Or is it, what sort of things?
Certainly specialization. Also, the willingness to plan and then take that risk and take it to market. Right? I mean, there's always a risk assessment involved, but sometimes you have the data, you know that the market is doing things, right? We know where it's going from a cloud perspective. We understand the UCaaS space. There's enough data out there on CCaaS as well, contact center as a surface. But at some point, you do have to pull the trigger.
Yes.
So find what you want to be.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that's also the owner of the company asking himself or herself, what do I want to look like as a company 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now?
Yeah.
And that's a tough question sometimes, but answering that question sometimes then allows you to figure out where you want to go tactically.
Yes.
So I really do think that those are the kind of questions that have to be asked in order to be successful.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, Stephanie, just coming back to the actual marketing for MSPs in the telecom space, I mean, you must be involved in a lot of different campaigns, and what are some of the ones that you've seen go spectacularly well? What just maybe without naming names, but just what are some good strategies for MSPs?
So we focus a lot on inbound marketing. So that's going to be your content creation and driving traffic to your website and really being that that business card, that 24/7 information center. So you can constantly be capturing different visitors. And honestly, the best thing is having something professional that works well on mobile, works well on desktop, and making it easy, not too wordy. You have to meet your audience where they are. And right now, millennials right now are 30-something to 40-something, okay?
Yeah.
That's me. I don't have time to shop 10 different vendors. I need, quick information, and that's kind of where a lot of the newest entrepreneurs are. So when we started refocusing some of our client websites to bullet points, just quick, easy to digest, skimmable content, and then making sure there's automation in place so that once a contact information card is filled out, they immediately get something from the company, and then once the salesperson takes over, there's still stuff coming from the company. Just keeping it top of mind, because I promise if you're not contacting your customers, somebody else is. So you have to stay top of mind. You have to nurture that relationship, and marketing can certainly help with that, at least in the background. Of course, it's going to take a sales touch. It's going to take the account rep, but marketing really helps augment that, and that's what I've seen really be successful. The other thing that's kind of coming back around is email marketing, which is nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's making a comeback, which is nice. So kind of took a little break, took a vacation, but it's really starting to seem to work again.
Oh, wow.
And getting that 7 to 8 touch points of emails is really kind of starting to work. So the other thing, we saw a huge, what am I trying to say here? A huge peak in leads from social during the pandemic. Obviously, everyone was bored as hell. They were scrolling.
Yes.
And some of them converted, sure. Now you're seeing, they call it dark social. There's a lot more lurkers. They're watching you. They're seeing that you're a legitimate business, and then they'll reach out. You dig into it, and you find out, well, I heard about you on LinkedIn. One of my connections had commented on your post, whatever. So there's a lot of that networking that's coming back too, but it's happening digitally. So before it was networking at places, at conferences, and a lot of that still happens, of course, but a lot of digital networking is starting to make a big impact. So those are the things we're starting to emphasize. And of course, I already said it, but getting specific, getting into verticals.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, one observation we see is that MSPs typically come from a technical background. They're not naturally marketing people, and I guess that this is the neat thing about what you're doing is, you're offering a marketing service, and you're also experts on this field.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yes. I mean, and we're going at it in a way where they can feel comfortable because we have the history, we have the background in the communications sector, right? So we bring a pedigree, if you will, a resume of telecom experience, cloud experience, ISP experience to the table.
Yes.
So we can get the market faster, the content is relevant. When they read our articles, they're accurate, they're correct. They don't have to spend months or even sometimes a year to try to train us up on the technology that they're offering their customer because we already know it, right? We come from the same space they're in. So it's just an easier communication stream going back and forth, better feedback loop, the whole 9 yards. So it just makes it easier for everyone and better for everyone.
And the biggest part of our onboarding is just really learning, their culture.
Right, I see.
That's what we need. Yeah, I need to know what products you're selling, but you don't need to go any further than just listing them. So.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I think that, I guess thought leadership, you can help, cultivating an audience for them as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, thought leadership is almost table stakes at this point, right?
Yes.
So when Stephanie and her team do the creation of content and so forth, it really is allowing that customer to be the thought leader in whatever that focus or niche that we're talking about is. So that's why it's important that there's this great collaboration, if you will, between GreenStar Marketing and the MSP or the ITSP, because we're going to help drive that thought leadership so that when someone thinks of that particular niche, they think of that MSP.
Yeah.
Right. Excellent. Look, Dave, Stephanie, it's been fantastic talking to you today, and I really appreciate your time. I know it's a very busy event for you.
Oh, we enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And wow, I mean, what a value proposition for MSPs. People that know the telecom industry, know the client's niche that you're working in. Fantastic. Anyway, wish you all the best, and to our audience there, wow. David, Stephanie from GreenStar Marketing, and we'll have the contact details on the screen for you.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.